Hi, I'm Mark Painter, and welcome to Stay in Your Lane. So this morning I want to talk about something rather interesting. In my recent blog on yourhopepartner.org, which is our sister ministry, um, I wrote a blog, which I hope you'll read, on the idea of not grumbling behind people's back or um, not reacting in a negative or sinful way when we are improperly treated by no cause of our own. So I hope you'll read that, but there's a portion of that particular blog that talks about one of the most difficult structures that we have to deal with from the perspective of authority in our country, and that authority is the authorities of our communities, our civil, social, societal mechanisms that operate, well, whether we get involved in them or not. Um, this morning on the way into the office, I learned that Boise, Idaho had made an adjustment to one of their laws to make sure that they could comply with state law. That state law is that in government facilities or around government facilities, the only flags that can be flown are those which are official government flags. That's for Idaho itself. In Boise, they decided that they wanted to make sure they celebrated the positions of their constituents locally by making the gay pride flag the official or an official flag of Boise, Idaho. Now, I get it. If we're talking about staying in our lane, maybe this isn't an area for me to be talking about, but here's what I want to really bring to the table is that we forget that we have the ability to help our communities stay in their lane. And when we don't, we find ourselves in conflict with our communities, with those mechanisms of authority, which is what the blog that I'm talking about is making reference to. Literally talking about how we, as Christians or non-Christians, become slaves to those things that are outside of the kingdom, those things of the world. Well, certainly in the case of those civil authorities, we can find that we have to live under that authority in such a way that we become slaves to it. Now, honestly, if we're complacent and we don't make an attempt to put our voices out, if we don't make an attempt to have our will be known, our Christian will, what we would believe is God's will, the will that should be expressed by kingdom thinking, if we don't employ that concept and extend it into our communities through our votes, through our participation in what's going on in the local government, if you will, or organizations that have some effect on the community, then in reality we're hiding from this authority. We're hiding from. We're being lazy. We're not allowing ourselves to get involved in expressing our will. So then, therefore, because we live in that community, we are then subject to that will. Boise is in a particular kind of situation because the local government felt like it wasn't necessary to allow anyone in to argue against this particular vote. And so they basically held everybody outside, allowing for only those who were in agreement with these policymakers to make this decision. And of course, many citizens are up in arms now because they didn't have an opportunity to comment on this. Well, here's the reality of it. If they didn't get involved in the first place, if they didn't decide to extend a kingdom message into their community, then the community was able to take a side that was outside of their will. So that's fine. I mean, that's the way it happens. If we elect people to run our government, they will run the government according to their ideology in this country today, because, well, we don't have an ability to stay in our lane. We decide that we want to push our agenda on everybody else. So that's fine. Listen, I want to encourage everybody, if you've got something to say, if you've got a position that you want to hold, if you want to feel like you have power in your community, which we talk about in that blog, if you want to have some power, if you want to have a voice, if you want to have some influence, and you want to influence your community for the kingdom, there's a couple of things that you can do. One is get your church out there. Get your church out in the community, serving, loving people, sharing the good news of Jesus Christ to them. The other thing that you can do is get involved, okay? Take the community to the kingdom. You don't have to take the kingdom to the community. Bring the community to the kingdom, okay? Let them hear what God has to say so that you can have power for Christ, or you could say that you could allow Christ to have power through you into your community, okay? So my message for everybody today is, we struggle for power. Sometimes we think we have power. We think that our will is enough power. But the reality of it is if we don't express our power into our communities through the church, through our vote, through our participation with the community, we end up being slaves to the concepts of those people who will do that. So my call for everybody is to let the kingdom be known to the people of your community so that that kingdom can grow locally in your community. When you go to the blog, you're going to hear about the first century Christians who were scattered in some certain places. And you're going to hear about how Peter was concerned that they would be marginalized, that they would lose their grip on their ability to grow the kingdom in their area. Listen, we're losing our grip to grow the kingdom in our areas. So let's get involved, let's get active, let's get excited, and let's talk about Jesus Christ throughout our communities and let His will be known in those communities. Guys, have a great day. I pray that everything would be awesome for you today, that you would experience the joy of the Lord, and that you would experience the power the Holy Spirit brings to you. Bye-bye.